In the 1960s, Bob Crane seemed to embody the American dream. With his polished smile and effortless comedic timing, he became one of television's most beloved leading men. To millions, he was the clever and unflappable Colonel Hogan on Hogan's Heroes, the mastermind who outwitted his captors week after week. Yet behind the laughter and bright studio lights, a far more complicated story was unfolding. Crane's life would ultimately become one of Hollywood's most unsettling tragedies, an unsolved murder wrapped in scandal, secrecy, and unanswered questions that continue to linger decades later. Radio days, the making of a personality. Long before television fame, Crane built his reputation in Los Angeles radio. On KNX, he became known as the Man of 1,000 Voices, captivating listeners with sharp improvisation and lively celebrity interviews. Stars such as Marilyn Monroe and Bob Hope appeared on his morning show, drawn to his wit and relaxed charm. Crane's confidence behind the microphone made him a favorite within Hollywood circles. Even Walt Disney reportedly praised his quick humor. Radio gave Crane more than fame. It sharpened his instincts, built his connections, and prepared him for the leap into television that would soon define his public image. Breaking into television, Crane's transition from radio to television began with opportunity and timing. In 1961, television legend Carl Reiner appeared on Crane's radio program and recognized his natural comedic rhythm. Reiner later cast him in a guest role on The Dick Van Dyke Show, where Crane played a charming but unfaithful husband. The performance impressed producers and opened new doors. Soon after, he secured a regular role on The Donna Reed Show as a cheerful dentist. Crane's affable presence resonated with audiences, and Hollywood began to view him not merely as a radio star, but as a rising television actor. The phenomenon of Hogan's Heroes. In 1965, Crane's agent handed him a script for what seemed to be a wartime drama. Instead, it was a daring sitcom set in a German POW camp. Despite initial doubts about the unusual premise, Hogan's Heroes became an instant success. Crane's portrayal of Colonel Robert Hogan, resourceful, calm, and always one step ahead, made him a household name. The series ran for 6 seasons, earning Crane 2 Emmy nominations. Merchandise filled stores, and his face appeared nationwide. For viewers, he symbolized clever optimism. Yet, as the show soared in popularity, subtle changes were beginning to surface in Crane's private life. Fame and the cracks beneath. While Crane thrived professionally, those close to him sensed unrest. His appetite for excitement grew alongside his celebrity. What began as a fascination with photography evolved into a consuming interest in video recording equipment. At first, it appeared harmless, experimentation with cameras and emerging technology, but gradually, this hobby became central to his private world. Friends observed increasing distraction and emotional distance. Crane remained outwardly charming, yet beneath the surface, he seemed restless. The laughter that defined his career contrasted sharply with the hidden behaviors that were quietly reshaping his relationships and eroding the stability he once enjoyed. A friendship that changed everything. A pivotal shift occurred when co-star Richard Dawson introduced Crane to John Henry Carpenter, a salesman for Sony Electronics. Carpenter provided access to the latest video technology, and the two bonded over their shared enthusiasm. Their friendship quickly deepened, extending beyond gadgets into nightlife and travel. Crane's celebrity opened doors, and Carpenter often accompanied him, sometimes introduced as his manager. Over time, Crane's dependency on this partnership became evident. Colleagues worried he was drifting further from his craft. What had begun as curiosity now seemed to influence every corner of his off-screen existence. Strained marriages and professional decline. Crane's personal life soon reflected the strain. His marriage to Ann Tertzian ended after more than 20 years. He later married Patricia Olson, known to audiences as Patricia Olson, But stability remained elusive. Reports from film sets suggested that his off-screen habits were raising concerns. By the mid-1970s, major television roles had dwindled. Though he found steady work in theater productions, the spotlight had dimmed. Determined to rebuild his career, Crane spoke to friends about making changes, distancing himself from destructive influences and starting fresh. Tragically, those plans would never materialize. Scottsdale, the final performance. In June 1978, Crane was performing in a stage comedy in Scottsdale, Arizona. At 49, he seemed cautiously hopeful about a new chapter. But on June 29th, after missing a scheduled meeting, co-star Victoria Ann Barry went to check on him at his apartment. Inside, she discovered a horrifying scene. Crane had been bludgeoned to death, likely with a camera tripod. There were no signs of forced entry or theft. The attack appeared personal and deliberate. The shocking discovery instantly transformed America's image of the beloved sitcom star into the center of a chilling homicide investigation. Investigation and suspicion. The Scottsdale Police Department faced a daunting challenge. The crime scene was not secured properly, and crucial evidence was mishandled. Cameras, tapes, and recording equipment were collected, exposing intimate aspects of Crane's private life. Suspicion soon centered on John Carpenter, who had been in town and seen with Crane the night before. Blood found in Carpenter's rental car matched Crane's type, but in 1978, DNA testing was unavailable. Without definitive proof, prosecutors declined to file charges. The case went cold, leaving behind speculation, damaged reputations, and a grieving family desperate for answers. Trial and acquittal. More than a decade later, advances in forensic science revived hope. In 1992, Carpenter was arrested and charged. The 1994 trial unfolded dramatically, with prosecutors arguing that jealousy and anger fueled the crime. The defense countered by highlighting lost evidence and investigative errors. After weeks of testimony, the jury acquitted Carpenter. He maintained his innocence until his death in 1998. Officially, Crane's murder returned to cold case status. The courtroom drama failed to deliver closure, reinforcing the tragedy's complexity and leaving the public divided over what truly happened that night. Family, reputation, and Hollywood's memory. For Crane's children, the ordeal was devastating. Court testimony exposed intimate details that overshadowed decades of professional accomplishment. Instead of remembering the quick-witted performer who once captivated audiences, headlines focused on scandal. Even the 2002 film Autofocus reignited controversy by portraying Crane's life in sensational terms. Reruns of Hogan's Heroes became inseparable from the murder narrative. Hollywood, once so enthusiastic in praise, grew quieter. The legacy of laughter gave way to whispers of tragedy, permanently altering how the star was remembered. Conclusion: an unfinished story. Nearly 5 decades later, Bob Crane's murder remains unsolved. Advances in DNA testing have failed to provide definitive answers, and critical evidence has long since deteriorated or disappeared. What endures is a story of fame, secrecy, and a life cut short at the brink of reinvention. Crane's talent brought joy to millions, yet his final chapter is defined by uncertainty. Was it betrayal by a trusted friend, a crime of passion, or something else entirely? The truth may never be fully known. What remains is a haunting reminder that even the brightest stars can cast the darkest shadows.